Augustus Henry FitzRoy, 3rd Duke of Grafton, KG, PC, styled Earl of Euston between 1747 and 1757, was a British Whig statesman of the Georgian era. He is one of a handful of dukes who have served as Prime Minister. He became Prime Minister in 1768 at the age of 33, leading the supporters of William Pitt, and was the youngest person to have held the office until the appointment of William Pitt the Younger 15 years later. However, he struggled to demonstrate an ability to counter increasing challenges to Britain's global dominance following the nation's victory in the 7 Years' War. He was widely attacked for allowing France to annex Corsica, and stepped down in 1770, handing over power to Lord North. Background and education. He was a son of Lord Augustus FitzRoy, a captain in the Royal Navy, and Elizabeth Cosby, daughter of Colonel William Cosby, who served as a colonial governor of New York. His father was the third son of the 2nd Duke of Grafton and Lady Henrietta Somerset, which made FitzRoy a great-grandson of both the 1st Duke of Grafton and the Marquess of Worcester. He was notably a 4th-generation descendant of King Charles II and the 1st Duchess of Cleveland. The surname FitzRoy stems from this illegitimacy. His younger brother was the 1st Baron Southampton. For the death of his uncle in 1747, he was styled Earl of Euston as his grandfather's heir apparent. Lord Euston was educated at Newcomes School in Hackney and at Westminster School, made the Grand Tour, and obtained a degree at Peterhouse, University of Cambridge. Political career. In 1756, he entered Parliament as MP for Boroughbridge, a pocket borough. Several months later, he switched constituencies to Bury St Edmunds, which was controlled by his family. However, a year later, his grandfather died and he succeeded as 3rd Duke of Grafton, which elevated him to the House of Lords. He first became known in politics as an opponent of Lord Bute, a favourite of King George III. Grafton aligned himself with the Duke of Newcastle against Lord Bute, whose term as Prime Minister was short-lived largely because it was felt that the peace terms to which he had agreed at the Treaty of Paris were not a sufficient return for Britain's performance in the 7 Years' War. In 1765, Grafton was appointed a Privy Councillor. Then, following discussions with William Pitt the Elder, he was appointed Northern Secretary in Lord Rockingham's first government. However, he retired the following year, and Pitt formed a ministry in which Grafton was First Lord of the Treasury but not Prime Minister. Chatham's illness, at the end of 1767, resulted in Grafton becoming the government's effective leader, but political differences, the impact of the Corsican crisis and the attacks of Junius led to his resignation in January 1770. Also, in 1768, Grafton became Chancellor of Cambridge University. He became Lord Privy Seal in Lord North's ministry but resigned in 1775, being in favour of conciliatory action towards the American colonists. In the 2nd Rockingham ministry of 1782, he was again Lord Privy Seal. Religious interests. In later years he was a prominent Unitarian, being one of the early members of the inaugural Essex Street Chapel under Rev. Theophilus Lindsay when founded in 1774. Grafton had associated with a number of liberal Anglican theologians when at Cambridge, devoted much time to theological study and writing after leaving office as Prime Minister. In 1773, in the House of Lords, he supported a bill to release Anglican clergy from subscribing to all the 39 articles. He became an advocate of moral reformation among the upper classes and of liturgical reform. He was author of Hints submitted to the serious attention of the clergy, nobility and gentry by a layman. Serious Reflections of a Rational Christian from 1788 to 1797. He was a sponsor of Richard Watson's Consideration of the Expediency of Revising the Liturgy and Article of the Church of England, and he funded the printing of 700 copies of Griesbach's edition of the Greek New Testament in 1796. Legacy. Grafton County, New Hampshire, in the United States, is named in his honor, as of the towns of Grafton, New South Wales, Australia, the town of Grafton, New York, the unincorporated community of Grafton, Virginia, and possibly the township of Grafton, West Virginia. The Grafton Center shopping mall in Cambridge is also named after him, and indeed lies on Fitzroy Street. Cape Grafton in far north Queensland was named after him by Lieutenant James Cook during his first voyage of discovery. Family. On the 29th of January 1756, he married the Hon. Anne Little, daughter of the first Baron Ravensworth. They had 3 children: Lady Georgiana FitzRoy, who married John Smith on the 4th of June 1778. George Henry FitzRoy, a 4th Duke of Grafton. General Lord Charles FitzRoy, who married, firstly, Frances Mundy on the 20th of June 1795, and had 1 son. He married, secondly, Lady Frances Stuart on the 10th of March 1799, and had 3 children. His sons Sir Charles FitzRoy, Governor of New South Wales, and Robert FitzRoy, the hydrographer, were notable for their achievements. After the Duchess had become pregnant by her lover, the Earl of Euston, she and the Duke were divorced by Act of Parliament, passed the 23rd of March 1769. 3 months later, on the 24th of June 1769, the Duke married Elizabeth Rusley, daughter of the Reverend Sir Richard Rusley, Dean of Worcester. They had the following children: Lord Henry FitzRoy, clergyman. He married Caroline Piggott on the 10th of September 1800 and had 5 children. Lord Frederick FitzRoy, Lady Augusta FitzRoy, who married Rev. George F. Tarville on the 19th of November 1811. Lady Frances FitzRoy, who married the 1st Baron Churchill on the 25th of November 1800. Admiral Lord William FitzRoy, who married Georgiana Rags in 1816 and had 2 children. Lord John Edward FitzRoy, MP, died unmarried. Lady Charlotte FitzRoy, Lady Elizabeth FitzRoy, who married her cousin Lt. Gen. the Hon. William FitzRoy, son of the 1st Baron Southampton, on the 4th of July 1811. Lady Isabella FitzRoy, who married Barrington Pope Blackford on the 11th of August 1812. Grafton was thus the first British Prime Minister, before Sir Anthony Eden, to be divorced, and the second, after Sir Robert Walpole, to marry while in office. The Duke of Grafton's government. Prime Minister, First Lord of the Treasury, and Leader of the House of Lords. The Duke of Grafton, Lord Chancellor, the Lord Camden. Lord President of the Council, the Earl Gower. Lord Privy Seal, the Earl of Bristol. Chancellor of the Exchequer and Leader of the House of Commons, Lord North. Secretary of State for the Northern Department, Henry Seymour Conway, the Viscount Weymouth, the Earl of Rochford. Secretary of State for the Southern Department, the Earl of Shelburne, the Viscount Weymouth. Secretary of State for the Colonies, the Earl of Hillsborough. Master General of the Ordnance, the Marquess of Granby. First Lord of the Admiralty, Sir Edward Hawke. Titles from birth to death: Mr. Augustus FitzRoy, Earl of Euston, MP. His Grace the Duke of Grafton. His Grace the Duke of Grafton, PC. His Grace the Duke of Grafton, KG, PC.